Hi Christine, thanks for submitting these writing pieces to me. I'll show you the process that I go through in order to correct and review and also provide feedback for written pieces. What I do first is I go through the overall feel that I have for the story, then improvement points, and then I go in detail in through each of the line items in the written piece. So today I'll go through the vague impression submitted by Andy and then the labyrinth submitted by Angie. The first impression I had with the written piece, the vague impression, was that overall there was good grammar, good spelling, and the topic was generally in line with the question. Okay, so when I read through this writing piece, I was able to understand what topic it was without actually having the topic there, and I was able to get an idea of what the story is about, mainly because it was written quite because it had good grammar and also it had good spelling. Okay, the improvement points I have are storytelling. Okay, it's very important with creative writing that one shows what the story is as opposed to telling. So the easiest way to think about this is about going to a movie. With a movie, there are a lot of things such as the music, the way the actors move that actually show what the story is as opposed to telling, because when the difference between telling and showing is the difference between a good creative writing piece and not. There are also issues with incorrect usage of some words, tense issues, and some jump in order of which makes a lot of confusion in the story. So I'll explain to you what I mean with these improvement points, and also I'll highlight some of the good points that I thought were in the story. um, I'll go read through it and then I'll go through what's good and what needs improvement. So, the vague impression. I didn't expect it to happen when I was doing my work in the library. I saw a vague impression of something. What I liked was vague impression of something was quite good language. Okay, however, that whizzed past me. It doesn't seem to flow quite well. I saw a vague impression of something that whizzed past me. Um, I would change that. So I saw a vague impression of something whizzing past. So we move it into something quite simple. Okay, we simplify the language. And ear splitting noise, this section here, I actually really like this expression. Okay, an ear splitting noise was heard and drove everyone terrified. Again, this is incorrect use of language. It would be and made everyone terrified, and terrified everyone. The reason why is because terrified is a verb. Okay? Okay, and what you've got here is two verbs, drove, terrified. So what I'll do is I highlight in yellow the correct language. It crashed through the library wall and everybody was screaming for their lives. Again, use of language could be changed. It crashed through the library wall and everybody screamed for their lives. Again, it's quite a simple change, but it makes a big difference because everybody was screaming for their lives is a different tense as opposed to everybody screamed for their lives, because here you've got something that says crashed, which is past tense, whereas this does not imply full past tense. This does. Okay? I went outside to see what was going on, but something stopped me, which I absolutely don't know what it was. This section here I wouldn't exclude altogether because it doesn't have the correct tense, which I absolutely don't know what it was. Or if you wanted the correct tense, I didn't know what it was. That would be the correct language that you would use. Okay? I went outside to see what was going on, but something stopped me. I didn't know what it was. Okay? Or I had no idea what it was. Okay? These are options there. So I scampered home with the books is excellent. I like the word scampered. What you could then do is, so I scampered home with the borrowed books, because obviously they're books borrowed from the library. You don't need to then explain that. Actually, let me cross that out. And told my mum what had happened at the library. My mum was very anxious about this and told all her neighbours. Just then we heard sirens everywhere, which were like deafening voice noises. Good. We were petrified by the noises, and one of the policemen came in and told everyone not to panic. This section here could be revised. We were petrified. The reason why is it is a bit confusing. It says here, we were petrified by the noises, okay, because the sirens were everywhere, and one of the policemen came in and told everyone not to panic. Where did he come in? That's where I'm confused about. That's what I'm confused about. Because here, I'm assuming you're scampered home. Did he come in home? Because I'm assuming you're home with your mum, or are you outside talking to the neighbours? Okay, so there's a bit of confusion there. So we kept quiet. Again, that's confused because I'm not sure whereabouts the policeman is and whereabouts you and your mum are. So that's part of the storytelling. You need some order in the story in order for someone like me, the reader, to understand where your story is. Without that order, the story is very confused, and a person who's unable to understand if there is a story is unlikely to mark you, to grade this piece highly. Okay, so order is very important. The next part is, but I was still thinking in my mind what had stopped me. Okay, so here you go back to this idea of, which I absolutely don't know what it was. At the end of the day, I'm not sure how important this is to the whole story, but here there are issues with tenses anyway. So, but I was still thinking in my mind what had stopped me. I'm not sure what this refers to, and it adds more confusion. Okay. What you could have written, if this is what you wanted to go down, was down the path of, was my mind drifted. I was still wondering what had stopped me. Okay, that would be better use of the English language. I was still wondering what had stopped me. What had stopped me. Okay. Everyone was silent together, and suddenly we heard rapid bullets which sounded like they were coming from a machine gun. Okay, that's perfect. I like this expression. Rapid bullets which sounded like they were coming from a machine gun. After the police had stopped firing, he told everyone that they could come out, so we were relieved that none of us got hurt. We were celebrating what had happened to us. Okay, here, this part here, there's a lot of telling. So after the police had stopped firing, he told everyone that they could come out, so we were relieved that none of us got hurt. We were celebrating what had happened to us. There's not much feeling or not much description going on. If you were going to change it, you would bring out the feeling of relief and celebration without actually saying it, by describing how people were. Okay. Eventually, I figured out what had stopped me. Again, whether this part is necessary, or it could be reworded. A car was thrown into the side of the building. Okay, so at this point, this is where the confusion really enlarges, because a car was thrown onto the side of the building. Then why would there be bullets, or why would there be police firing? Soon the firemen came. missing an E here, and hosed everything. The library was rebuilt and everything was as good as new. Again, this part of the story, there's a bit of confusion. How could the library be rebuilt in such a quick time when the firemen just came and hosed everything? There's too much activity going on so that your main story is actually being taken away. I'm not actually sure what the main story is because of all this activity. And then, so we had no more troubles except for the natural disaster. So, what natural disaster is this referring to? Is this the natural disaster being the car thrown onto the side of the building? Because that's not exactly a natural disaster. There's no actual natural disaster within this whole story. So, to put it at the end puts added confusion into the story. I was so blissful. Again, instead of saying I was so blissful, I smiled with relief. Okay, so that's what you could have written instead of I was so blissful. Okay, we had no more troubles except for the natural disaster. That's something that needs to be changed. So can you see here that there are a lot of elements in this story that take away from the idea of order in your story? There are some really good expressions and really good words being used, but the main thing here is actually writing a story with a beginning, middle, and end. And one of the things that you can do to improve that is especially with the planning of the story. Okay, so that's the first one by Andy. So we'll go to the one from Angie. Overall, I really like the interpretation of this topic. I could understand which topic you had chosen. There is really good storytelling in this, which is a different contrast from the other one. I felt really excited and there was a real pace to the story. Okay, so the story itself is actually quite good and the idea is quite unique. The improvement points I would say would be wording choice, phrasing, tense issues, and jump in order as well, but to a minor extent. Let's go through this in more detail. The labyrinth. I went into the challenge. The labyrinth isn't made up of stone but made up of bushes. The maze race. Here are the rules. No talking while doing the race, no partners, only 1 hour to finish the labyrinth. Again, the idea is good. There is a lot of telling. So perhaps more showing. I would reword this story. Just the top part. I guess the introduction, because because the introduction is really important, given that that is the first part. The the assessor actually reads. Okay, I went into the challenge. I went into this challenge. Maze. As an example, I would write a long, winding maze made of dense, tightly woven bushes. You couldn't even see through it. Okay, can you see here the long winding maze? It creates a feeling of distance, dense, tightly woven bushes. It's made of bushes. You don't need to say it. You couldn't even see through it. So there you can see a feeling of desperation, long winding, a feeling of distance. Okay, here are the rules. Obviously you would change that, but we won't go into detail here right now. We'll keep moving on. Everyone got to a different starting point. Again, it would be reworded. Let me just. Everyone got to a different starting point. The time is now. I would reword that. Everyone starts. And notice that the time is now is present tense. It's a good idea to keep the whole story in present tense or in some way where it's interlinked. Okay. So what I would do is I'm going into this challenge. I'm about to go into this challenge. A long winding maze made of tightly woven bushes you couldn't even see through. Everyone assembles at their own unique point. Okay, that means everyone starts at their own place. The time is now. I ran different place, desperate to find the exit. Again, there's issues with the expression and the language. What you then you have to reword it. If I One of the activities I like to do is I read it to myself. I would say, well, if I read this in a book, would I be confused? And if I read this in a book, of course I would be confused. So instead of saying I ran different place desperate to find the exit, you would say something along the lines of scrambling to find the exit, I darted from one place to the next in randomly. Okay. Terrible start, I thought. Sigh. Unnecessary here. You could explain to the reader instead how you feel and what happens to you. Okay. Maybe I could go through the bush as a cheat. Again, here you've already created the idea of going through the bush. Instead of saying that, you could say, I pushed, I weaved my hands through the bush, the bushy barriers, but it was no use in cheating. Okay, so that's what that part means. What I really liked in this piece was this idea of 5 more minutes, 45 more tiring minutes, 30 minutes left, 20 minutes left. Even though I like the concept of using that because it creates a pressure of time onto the reader. So when I read that, I thought, okay, well, there's only a few more minutes left. This girl has to find her way out of the maze, or else there'll be dire consequences. So that was excellent. There may be some review areas with that, but the concept of using that was excellent. Okay, 50 more minutes and still I'm stuck. I heard a bush rustle and I knew it was one of my friends trying to find her way. Okay, and still I'm stuck. Again, if with your previous writing you had past tense here, past tense, and then you've got present tense, try and keep a similar tense. Okay, 45 more tiring minutes. I went through the way. What does that exactly mean? I went through the way. It's a bit confusing. Maybe a bit more. Maybe explained a bit better. Okay, sweating as I trudged the stone path. That was excellent language. Can this get worse? Could this get any? Could this get any? Could this get worse than it is? Well, could this get worse would be simple enough. Okay, because you're saying could it get any worse, not can this get any worse. But even then, I wouldn't even use worse. Could this improve? Could this improve at all? All. Okay, 30 minutes left. Everything went vague. Went all vague. It was sweltering. I ran, not wanting to walk any longer. I heard the painful scream as someone tripped over the path. Okay, again, the path, the painful scream. I heard a painful scream. Okay, so there are little issues here with expression, and it's something that through more practice you'll be able to improve. Okay, the good news is that basic grammar is there, and also spelling is there. Okay, and choice of words is there. There are some instances of really, really good expression. Okay, but there are issues with tense here. Okay, a painful scream as someone tripped over the path. I couldn't take it any longer. The sun of the yoke burned on me as I ran even faster, sweat dripping on my forehead. I was thirsty and ravenous and had a minuscule of water left in my bottle. This part here is excellent. You know, there is a real pace to the writing, and you get the idea that you're pretty much at the end. You couldn't take it any longer. The sun of the smudged yoke burned on me. I'm not sure about this yoke part, but you could change that. Burned on me as I ran even faster, sweat dripping on my forehead. This perfect. I was thirsty and ravenous. Great, great word choice. 20 minutes left, my tummy was hollow. I sprinted in directions and it was right. I guessed it right. Again, I wouldn't use right. I guessed it correctly. Okay. And it was right. You could write, I finally found the right path. Or I finally found the right exit. Again, this section here is a lot of telling. You could then write, my eyes shone as there in front of me was the exit. Okay, you don't have to say I found the exit. You've seen the exit right in front of you. Okay, there's that showing as opposed to telling. Okay, so finally, the time is now up. Nobody finished the race. Everyone was sweating from head to toe. It was a labyrinth, a very tough maze. Okay, so part of your story is saying nobody finished the race. Everyone was sweating from head to toe. It was a labyrinth, a very tough maze. The time is up now. No winners, no losers, just people lost in the labyrinth. Okay, that's how I would change the current wording, but you then have to look at the overall story and whether that is actually a proper ending. I would probably change it a bit because here you said that you finally found the exit, so there is one winner at least. But either way, that's only one little section that you could fix up in the whole story. So overall, the story idea was actually quite good. There are improvements needed, but that's something you will develop through more practice, because each time you do that, you'll be able to review better. You'll also be able to choose your words better, and you'll be able to practice phrasing, and issues with tenses should be improved. Okay, if you have any questions about this, just don't hesitate to give me a call or send me an email. But I hope you enjoy this, and this is how I go about reviewing work online and getting improvements, because we do have a homework package where you do individual pieces of written submission each week to help improve your writing. Okay, so with that, good luck for the exam, and I look forward to hearing from you and any feedback you have with this story. Okay, thank you.